Hey everyone, welcome back to the Pathways to Happiness podcast. My name is Nena Lavonne. I'm a life coach that specializes in personal development and life transformation. And today we are going to be talking about why life doesn't seem fun anymore. I absolutely love this topic, and I am not at all talking about COVID-19. I actually think this situation just really helped spotlight a problem that we already have. If anything, the virus really pulled it to the surface, which I think is kind of a blessing in disguise. Now, I'm not trying to diminish the real pain and suffering that the situation is causing. And yes, it is certainly aggravating the problem, but I think this has been evolving in this direction for a long time. This question was actually sent in by one of our amazing audience members for the last questions and answered podcast, but I have so much to say about this topic that I felt that it needed its own podcast, and that is also the case for a few more of the questions that were sent in. So if you sent in a question and it did not get answered, that could be the reason why. So today I'm going to give you my thoughts on why I feel that life feels less fun in this day and age and in this stage of life. And I'm going to offer some insight into how we can bring the fun back in, get re-inspired, and stop taking everything so seriously. So I'm very excited to talk about all of these things, but before we jump in, as always, I just want to thank you so much for all your support, both here and on the Nena Lavonne YouTube channel, and for all your insight and feedback. You guys make this such a rewarding experience, and I think this has become such an incredible community, so I really want to thank you for being a part of that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into today's topic. I think the question itself, actually how it was phrased, is so brilliant. So I'm going to start by reading the question, which was, life just doesn't seem fun anymore. I'm not depressed. It's nothing that is clinical. I'm not necessarily sad. I just can't use the word fun to describe my life anymore. Is it just me? And more importantly, is it fixable? I can so relate to this question, and I remember having this realization for my own self a few years back, that the world just didn't seem fun anymore. And it's crazy because to the rest of the world, I'm sure it probably looked like I was having a fun life because everything would point to that, but the conclusion that I came to was that it was definitely the case. I was not having fun anymore. I mean, I had fun here and there, but it wasn't my natural set point. I could think back and see that fun had always been really important to me before this happened, and it was just something that came so easy for me. I never had to think about having fun. Life was just fun. It wasn't about making plans or scheduling this or that. I think it was just more of an overall attitude I had. Anything could be fun, really. In fact, my favorite memories are not about specific big events. It's just the day-to-day things that were spontaneously made fun. I have a strong memory in college of riding around in shopping carts in a parking lot in the middle of a snowstorm with some of my friends. And that is one of my favorite memories. It just kind of happened. We didn't plan it. And when I think about it, I really think it's those type of moments that are the most fun. I think sometimes when we try to plan fun, it isn't authentic and it's not as meaningful as when it just naturally kind of happens. But I think somewhere along the way, we forget to have those moments, or we don't think of them as important, or, we don't have opportunities to make these moments happen anymore. But I think when we look back, those are the moments that we always remember. Those are the moments that stand out. I remember another memory that I have that always makes me smile. I had this amazing roommate when I had my first apartment, and we ended up working together. And one day we were at a dollar store and we were in the toy section, and she was just horrified by this little doll they had there that was just a really unappealing doll, to the point that we felt that it might actually scare a child if they had this doll. So, of course, I went back later and bought the doll and then began to randomly stick the doll in places that she would find it. So, I would put it in her pillowcase. I remember I put it inside her Eggo waffles box and her glove box also one time. And then I even inter-office mailed it to her one day at work. Now she was just horrified every single time I did this. And it was just the funniest and funnest thing in the world. And I always think back to those days. Again, it was just, nothing really that important. But those are, again, the things that we remember and the things that bring joy to our life and make life fun and remind us not to take life so seriously, because somehow we feel that once we become an adult that our life somehow should be incredibly serious. But that didn't really happen for me. I really did have a lot of fun in my adulthood. I always had a lot of fun, and that's how I really remember my life, that it was fun. And then one day I just realized that it wasn't that way anymore. It was really dry and a lot of times completely overwhelming. In fact, the same things that would have made me smile probably would have been annoying to me at that time. Everything had gotten so routine, and it was like I stopped caring about fun. Fun turned into something that actually took effort, something that almost seemed fake because I would have to plan it. There was definitely some kind of shift that took place for me, and it was not good. So, this is a topic that I've thought about, I've studied, I've really dissected, and I've written about for several years now. And it's something I feel incredibly passionate about. So when I got this question, I was like, I have so been there. I think about this so often, and I feel that it is almost an epidemic in our society. So I felt it's something that we really needed to talk about, and so today is that day. I think we really need to start by talking about how we got to this point. And I also feel that this issue is worse now than ever. I actually think in the 2000s somewhere, we began to really lower the bar on what fun really is. And I think it has very little to do with personal choice. I think there are many factors now that simply were not there before. We are completely overwhelmed most of the time and at the edge of burnout half the time if we aren't there already. And I know things are different now at this particular moment because of the virus, but it's actually just adding another layer of stress for us. I think that many, if not most of us, are adversely affected by this, whether it be health wise, financially, having to all of a sudden become homeschool teachers, not being able to see friends and family, and even those who feel that this isn't directly affecting them are getting affected in some way, even just within the collective consciousness. There's definitely a dark cloud, and even if you haven't lost your job or you haven't gotten sick, it is still affecting you in some way. So, whether it is affecting you directly right now or not, it is still adding to that feeling of overwhelm. And yes, by the way, you can feel both bored and overwhelmed at the same time. And I think that is the case for many, many people right now, which is confusing to feel, but it causes a lot of internal struggle. As a society, even when we aren't facing a global pandemic, we are working more than ever in history. We have no real free time because we are always reachable by cell phone or on social media. Whereas it used to be when you clocked out, you were done. I think that's why I love watching movies from the disco era because it was like when 5 o'clock on Friday came, no one seemed to have any problems anymore. They were definitely just dancing their hearts out in their gold pants and they were making fun a priority. Now, if anyone went to the club in this day and age, they would be just checking their phone every 2 seconds or too busy taking selfies or trying to document the moment instead of actually experiencing it. And that really is one of our other big issues. We are constantly feeling on display and that we are being rated and judged. So we never really let our guard down. We never relax. Do you know how exhausting it is trying to maintain some kind of manufactured image 24 hours a day? And we all do this, maybe to varying extents, but it is definitely there. And think about social media in general. 99% of what gets posted online represents about maybe 3% of any given person's life. That shows you the amount of stress we feel subconsciously to put on a show for other people, and it is exhausting and crazy if you think about it. I remember reading this article several years back, maybe in Psychology Today or some kind of other similar publication, but it was discussing how they did the study about happiness. And the conclusion they made was that it was more important to people to have other people believe they were happy, so to appear happy to others, than to actually be happy or experience happiness for themselves. Some even said that it didn't matter if they were happy when no one else was around to see. That really just blew my mind. I was just shocked to really see the degree this has all become a show that we are putting on for other people. Pleasing other people has become way too high of a priority, and the cost of this is just tremendous. So, this is definitely a factor in not having truly fun experiences anymore. Another really goes back to the job issue. We are just too tired. We are too tired to care about fun because our lives are just so stuffed with work and 1,000 other things we feel we need to do, even though half of these things don't really hold any true value for us anymore in many cases. We just keep doing them and we keep filling our lives and filling our schedule with things that don't actually make us happy or that don't actually have any great benefit in our life from. I've seen this over and over. What time is there for fun when we have our schedule filled from 5 a.m. until 10 p.m.? Another issue is that we've lowered the standard for what is considered fun to a frightening degree. And please keep in mind, I am not judging because I am part of this too. It's just things that I have realized and seen over and over. But everyone needs a Netflix night every once in a while, but we have made that our primary source of entertainment for some time now. And how much fun are we really getting out of it if we're doing this all the time? We're engaging in this behavior pretty much every day. And this is why I said that the coronavirus is actually bringing these things to the surface, because when they initially said that the quarantine was going to be 2 weeks, it was like a relief for many people in one aspect. I know there was a lot of sadness and concern, but for a lot of people, they needed a break from their life. So in some way, it was going to be like a little mini vacation for them to get some sleep, get some stuff done around the house, to be able to just kind of work in pajamas, catch up on, the things you need to do, and catch up on your favorite television shows. And so for some people, there was some amount of enjoyment in that at first, but then it turned into 2 months. And if you're anything like me, those TV shows aren't really providing the same level of entertainment as a few months back. I mean, Tiger King was fun at the beginning of March, and now it just doesn't seem that funny anymore because this is not something we should be engaging in all the time. This is not a high level of entertainment. So we are seeing real time that maybe these activities that we've been limiting ourselves to before any of this even happened isn't really the best we can do. We're seeing that maybe we haven't been taking advantage of all we can be doing to make our lives great. We, in a lot of cases, have settled on pretty mediocre forms of entertainment. And again, I'm not saying that TV isn't enjoyable in moderation, but it cannot be our only source of fun because we are also just an observer. We aren't taking part in the fun unless maybe we are watching it with other people and the entertainment becomes the commentary between everyone watching, which is actually fun, but that's not usually the case. And the same goes for social media. When did we somehow decide that 2 hours a day scrolling on social media was a replacement for doing things that legitimately inspire us or give us sense of joy? We get just enough dopamine on our little devices, and that has somehow become enough for us. In fact, we rarely fully enjoy anything anymore because we are so distracted. Even when we are with people, we aren't giving them our full focus or our full attention. We are checking Instagram or Twitter during our conversations. No one's even really listening anymore. There's no real connections. It's so rare that people are truly engaging in meaningful or enjoyable conversations anymore. Or we just skip the real conversation altogether and do it over text or on Facebook. And again, I'm not just talking about the quarantine because this started happening well before that, years before that. So, how could that possibly be a replacement of real relationships? But we see this all the time. And I think one of the funnest things that people can do is just have a conversation where they are just kind of riffing off the other person. And you have to be really present to be able to do that. You have to be observant. And we've gotten so bad at that because, again, we are just so distracted and bored. And that boredom comes because of the same reason. We aren't fully in the moment. We aren't in the here and now at all. We are in the past or the future, or we are just pretending we are enjoying the present to have some kind of photo opportunity, which becomes somehow more important than the moment itself. So, does that sound fun to you? Of course not. So, again, not really our fault that we are feeling this way because this is the social norm now. This is what reality is. But if we choose to live like everyone else, then it's going to stay this way. And I think it's pretty clear that we really don't want to be living like everyone else anymore because guess what? They're not happy. And a lot of times, neither are we. Somewhere we lost that childlike curiosity and wonder. I remember making everything fun when I was little, even just walking down the street. You would try not to jump on the cracks. You would jump in a puddle if there was one, and if you saw a squirrel or a cat, you would try to coax it over. Life was just a big bubble of possibilities and mysteries. We didn't wake up and hope to have a day just like we had the day before. I know as adults we have responsibilities and concerns that children do not have. That is a fact of life, and that is a factor in this. We can't simply just jump in a puddle anymore because we're going to get our work clothes all muddy and dirty. And of course, our whole concept of what fun is evolves as we grow. But it shouldn't actually disappear. And I think that's what's happening. I mean, I remember the last time I was at Disney World, I was on a ride with a woman who was on Facebook the whole time. She didn't even look up, literally at Disney World. Happiest place on earth, and she chose to be on Facebook. And she can't be the only one. We've definitely lowered the bar for what fun is for us, and I don't think it has to be this way. And I also don't think it's always distractions. I think we've also just lost all sense of balance in our life. On the other end of the spectrum, we are also really, really goal driven now, or we feel that we need to be having a productivity contest 24 hours a day. This is something that happens to me all the time. I'll give myself that pressure to go, go, go and do more, more, more. And I feel like there's always something else I need to be working on or improving in or learning. And again, too much is too much. I mean, self-development is essential, but so is balance and so is self-care. If we aren't taking care of ourselves and we aren't getting enough sleep or alone time or exercise, Do you really think that we're going to feel like life is fun? Of course not. So, the whole way we are living right now is a recipe for stress and anxiety, and a lot of times a very low level of enjoyment in life. If we don't have balance, any or all of these things can become huge issues. We can't just whip out a magic wand and say, okay, I'm going to schedule fun now. Let those good times begin. No, we have to get to the root of the problem. We need to see what in our lifestyle has brought us to where we are now. When it was me, the issues were very clear. I didn't have time to take care of myself. I was way too busy. I had way too much stress in my life. I had no life outside of work because my work took up about 14 hours of every single day, if not more. And it was actually a job I really, really loved. It was just, consuming all of my time. And I had simply forgotten that enjoying life should be a priority. I had forgotten that, just forgotten. And honestly, if you knew how completely against my nature that is, you would understand what a strong statement that really is. And that's how I know it can happen to absolutely anyone. And that's how I also know that we can fix it. It's never too late once you realize, I really don't want my life to continue in this direction. I mean, if you aren't enjoying your life and you are really never having fun, if the cost is that high, what is the reward? It would have to be a higher reward than enjoying your life. And I mean, I guess there are some unique cases where that might ring true or be a possibility. But for most of us, if we don't get enjoyment or at least have peace in our life, we're really missing the mark. I've come to really understand the true value of laughter and fun in our life. Life has to have value, it has to be well lived. We can't just exist. Not when we have the potential to really flourish and enjoy life. We can't just keep cheating ourselves this way. And I don't think anyone is really going to argue with me on this one. So I think we should just kind of jump right into talking about what we can do to fix it and do so as soon as possible. One of the things that I think we all need to do is to stop making so many rules for ourselves. I mean, I think our lives should be organized. We should have a path. We should have a goal that we are working towards. But we can't make rules about everything. I think we learn as children that rules are important, and then we just kind of go crazy with them as adults. We put all these restrictions on ourselves and we can't get rid of them. I mean, we can't ever break the rule a little bit or bend the rules. And I'm not talking about going crazy, I'm just talking about practical things. And we end up really punishing ourselves because we really just have this schedule that we lock ourselves into for no reason. I mean, we need to go to work. We need to take care of our children. These are all legitimate things. But look at the lives we've set up for ourselves. Look at all the thousands of other things that we make random rules about, or things that we have made decisions about when we were 16 years old that we are still doing without questioning. So I think we really need to look at our life and see, first of all, what's important and what's not, because I think a lot of us are just, again, stuffing our lives with unnecessary things and giving ourselves so many rules and restrictions. And think about when you were a teenager. What happened when you got so many rules? You started to rebel. And I think oftentimes as adults, one of the ways we rebel in some way is to really start pulling back. We start pulling back from our lives and our responsibilities and from enjoying life anymore. So we've got to learn to kind of loosen up a little bit. Think about the things that we can kind of let go of, or, be a little more lenient about. Life can't just be a bunch of rules. It can't just be a set schedule that we go on every single day, especially if it is not constructive for us. So that's definitely something that we want to look at, because in a lot of cases it's holding us back more than it is allowing us to go forward. We also have to be honest with ourselves about things that are really just wasting our time, that really just aren't that fun. I mean, realistically, again, when we are not in a global pandemic, we have very little free time. We have very little discretionary time. And for most people, that's about 4 hours a day. And that is the amount of time that we have to do everything else we need to do that does not involve sleeping, eating, and going to work and doing these basic necessities. So if we are, using that time to only watch TV and again scroll on social media or do things that aren't that rewarding, of course, we're not going to feel like we are having a lot of fun, and there's really no time left to have fun. So we need to, really take a good hard look at where we are spending our time and see if maybe we can start to push out of the comfort zone a little bit and try some different activities. I mean, we really have to think of life as being an adventure. Life should be an adventure. It should not just be, again, a bubble of comfort or a box of things that we are familiar with or that doesn't make us feel afraid or push our boundaries in any way. We should have that sense of adventure, and we have forgotten that that is a priority. And a lot of times we kind of have to poke ourselves and push ourselves out of that comfort zone because we are not going to go willingly. And unfortunately, that's where most of all the good stuff actually is. So without doing that, we're never going to feel that life is really fun. Is life really going to be fun just watching another episode of that same show? And again, I'm not saying don't watch TV. TV can be fun for many people in moderation, but we've got to look at the amount of time we're spending on these different activities. We also need to really sit down with ourselves and ask ourselves what our mindset is right now. Why is life not fun? What changes have we made? That's something that I definitely had to do. And I realized that, my mindset had nothing to do with fun anymore. I was either just completely focused on my career, or again, I just had such an unhealthy lifestyle that I wasn't in a great place mentally. I wasn't able to even make fun a consideration. So we need to really look at that mindset and see where we are. And again, what is different now? Because I'm sure you can think about times in your life that you were happy. What are you doing different now? And I know, of course, like we talked about earlier, we do have more responsibilities as adults. But if we think about it, when we are children, yes, we have a lot of free time, but we don't always get to dictate what we do on that or in that free time. So as adults, we can potentially do a lot more than we could as children with that free time, and we choose not to do it. I mean, if we want to, we could just wake up and have ice cream for breakfast. And I'm not saying that that is your definition of fun, but if it was, you could do that. We do have that freedom as adults. We just don't let ourselves take it. And I think every once in a while, we should take that. We should take that liberty if we have it. Why not? Why does life have to be as serious as we are always making it? There can be exceptions to every single rule sometimes. And we also have to think about what in our life is making us unhappy. I know a lot of times we aren't having fun because we have a lot of unhappy experiences happening in our life. And some of these things we can control, and some of these things we really can't control. But let's say that, for example, one of the things that is negative in your life is your work experience. Now, it's easy to just get into that mindset of work is terrible and we just want to fast forward our day, and we really have no positive memory or fun from that entire day at work. We're just hoping that when we clock out magically, our life is going to be a lot more fun. But that is a lot of wasted hours, and that is never going to lead us to feel that our life is fun if we have such a big chunk of our life that is, not enjoyable. So there are certainly things that we can do to make even the worst of jobs fun, or whatever it is in your life that is making it seem not fun. I mean, we can bond with our coworkers more. We can, put up fun pictures. We can, try to laugh more at work. We have the ability to control our experience much more than we give ourselves credit for. We can really design much more of our reality than we think we can. And it's something that we need to start doing. And certainly we can have fun at work. And if we aren't, it's because we have some kind of limiting belief about that. We've already made the decision inside of us that we can't have fun at work, but we can always make a brand new decision. We can decide that we're going to do whatever we can to make work fun. I mean, really anybody can do this. One of the things that I did actually watch on television when I was in quarantine, well, I mean, I'm actually still in quarantine, but one of the things that I watched it was called McMillions, and it's the kind of story of the McDonald's Monopoly game fraud that happened. And I know it does not sound that interesting, but actually the series is incredibly interesting. It's on Hulu. I think it was originally on HBO. But anyway, the reason why I loved it so much was this one FBI worker. He's this real true guy. And he just had so much fun with his work. And in his interviews, he was just laughing hysterically. And he was great at his job, but he was just having so much fun, and it stood out to me so much. I was just thinking, I wish we all worked with people like this. He's just having such a good time. He's making everybody else have a good time, and it just kind of works in this cycle. And, it just got me thinking about how much we affect other people. When we are having a good time, other people are going to be having a good time too. And it makes the experience get better and better because it changes the whole mood. It changes the whole paradigm of what you are doing. So if you go to work and you have that mindset of, I'm going to have fun today, it's going to show, and you are going to have fun, and you're going to start this ripple effect of other people having fun too. And before you know it, it just becomes so much more of a pleasant experience. Just like when the opposite occurs, when you have someone that comes in and they're always miserable and they're always complaining, and they tell you everything negative that is happening in their life, it just starts to become contagious and everyone starts to have a bad day. So think of it as, the opposite. You're going to help yourself and other people have a good day. And, to remember that having fun is, important and worthwhile and makes life so much more enjoyable. I think another area of our life that we really need to look at is our relationships, and not just our romantic relationships, our friendships and our family, and think about how much of these relationships were formed because we enjoyed being around these people. We had fun with these people. But with time, we forgot that and we forgot the importance of that. And a lot of times we really don't enjoy being around these people anymore because we are forgetting the essential part of what made us attracted to them in the first place, is how much fun we had when we were with them. And so when you remove that element of fun, there's not that much that is left a lot of times. So you have to remember to nurture these relationships and provide opportunities to have fun and to really connect. Really make sure you are not being distracted when you talk to your friends. Make sure that you are, when we're able to, going places that are fun and having new experiences and mixing it up, because again, anything that we do routinely is going to get boring. It's not going to seem fun again and again. That's why we don't go to see the same movie 50 times. It's fun the first time, but it's not going to be fun the seventh time. And we have to, keep that principle in mind. In our relationships as well, we have to put effort into them and make sure those opportunities are there and that we are giving all of these relationships the true focus that they deserve. I think a lot of times we also get so out of the habit of having fun that we can't really remember what is fun anymore. We lose touch with, the things that do bring us joy and do make us happy and make us laugh. And sometimes we have to, think about what in the past made us happy. A recent revelation that I came to myself is how much I love music. And I mean, it's not a revelation that I love music. I've always loved music. I play guitar and I think of music as being something that's been incredibly influential throughout my entire life. But I noticed that I had gotten in this habit of only listening to this music that I loved so much when I was doing other things. So I would be listening to music only when I was cooking dinner or doing dishes or something else. And I wasn't getting the true enjoyment of it because I wasn't focusing on it. I was splitting my attention. I was multitasking. And so lately, during this quarantine, I have been just sitting down and putting my earbuds in and listening to awesome music. And it just is so fun and so happy, and it truly brings me so much pleasure and enjoyment. And I have forgotten how amazing this very simple experience is for me. And I don't know if music has the same pull for everybody, but I know there are things in your life that are that important that you haven't been focusing on, even if you're including them in your life. Maybe they need to be a little bit more prominent. And another thing that I have done recently is started playing music that I enjoyed years and years and years ago. And they bring up so many happy memories and just fill me with such positive emotions. And I just connect with those good times in my life. I know for a lot of people, they have songs that are connected to the happy parts of their life and songs that are connected to the sad parts of their life. So, of course, we don't want to really focus on those sad parts. So listening to the music that really made you happy when you were younger is a wonderful experience that I had totally forgotten about. And I grew up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and the music of all those eras make me so genuinely happy. So just a thought, but try to reconnect with the things that really made you happy in the past that you've been really putting on the back burner. Those things can still make you happy now a lot of times and just make life so much fun. But also going back to doing dishes and listening to music, that also brings up another point that we can make some of the unpleasant activities in our life more pleasurable and more fun by doing things like listening to music or whatever it is you like to do. But being intentional about trying to make these things a little more pleasant, because the less bad stuff you have going on in your life, also, the more happy that you're going to feel, of course, and the more fun you're going to feel like you're having. And another thing that we kind of talked about earlier, or touched upon at least, is really trying to stay in that present moment, being in the here and now. We have gotten, as a society, so terrible at this. We are never in the here and now. So really just remembering to experience everything that is happening in the here and now. When you are eating food, really, really enjoy and appreciate that food. Don't just eat that food again when you're watching TV and you're texting a friend at the same time, because you're not going to really enjoy any of these things because you're not letting yourself fully experience them. So practice mindfulness. It makes such a difference. And we want to also make sure that we are remembering to spend enough time outdoors. That was something that was a huge realization for me as well when I had lost that feeling of fun in my life. I was spending way too much time indoors. And being outdoors, they have proven just makes you feel happier, first of all. We are human beings and we were not designed to be just in a dark box all the time. We need to be going outside, and that definitely fills us with life and inspiration. And also just playing. We need to play more. We're adults, but that doesn't mean that we can't play. And, that can be sports. It doesn't have to be something silly. It can be whatever it is for you. Whatever play is for you. Play for me is hiking and camping. That is, the most rewarding type of play there is. I love to do that kind of thing. So it's just finding what is your definition of playing and doing those things. We can't forget about these things or feel that they are not important, because they are important, because enjoying life is so important. When we lose our enjoyment of life, when life starts being fun, it seems pointless. Life is never pointless, but it feels that way when we forget to make enjoying life a priority for us. And my last reminder is just to laugh. We forget to laugh. And, it seems so silly to say we forget to laugh, but we do. We automatically skew situations to be way more serious half the time than they need to be. And that's not saying that there aren't serious situations, but everything can't possibly be that serious. Everything is not a life or death situation. There are, plenty of situations that we could shrug off and laugh about. And when we choose to see the humor in situation, it just adds such a layer of joy to our life. And so much of life really is funny. So many things in life are funny. And when we instead just make them so serious, when we make life a test all the time, we're going to feel like we're failing that test. So we can't do that to ourselves. We need to remember to lighten up. And if we're out of practice, see a funny movie, read a funny book, think about the people in your life that are funny and spend time with those people. Sometimes we are just so out of practice. But I assure you, if you make it a focus in your life and you make it an intention to enjoy life and to have fun, you are going to find many more opportunities to do so, because you are open to it. And you're telling the universe that that is what you want. When you close yourself off from enjoying life, you're just going to get more and more of that. That is going to be your experience. But again, set that intention to have a fun life and make it a priority, because it absolutely is a priority. This is your life, and what could be more precious than your life? And we forget how much control we actually have over this humanly experience that we are having. No, we can't always, choose what is happening to us, but we can always choose how we react. We can always choose how we respond and how we are going to decide to feel about something. Because, yes, emotions can be automatic, but we can use introspection. We can question these emotions and we can come to different conclusions. And in that capacity, we are truly able to design the life that we want to lead. So if your life does not seem fun right now, the good news is you are completely in control of that. So I truly wish you the best of luck with this new intention of making life fun again. Why not? Let's have fun, because what is the point of making everything so serious? Why are we putting this burden on our shoulders all the time? We can be just as efficient. We can be just as productive. We can be just as good of a partner or a parent or any of the other roles that we have in our life. And we can be fun too. It does not have to be a choice. We can do all of these things and have fun in our life. So let's make it a priority starting right now. And I look forward to hearing in the comments what you will be doing in the upcoming weeks. And hopefully for a lot of you, a lot of the restrictions are kind of loosening up. So you'll be able to get outdoors and go to some places that you've probably been missing for a while. So hopefully that will add a little more fun into your life, at least temporarily. But really think about making that mental shift, because let's make life fun again. It's in our hand to be able to do it. So let's make it a priority. And I look forward to hearing about all your upcoming amazingly fun experiences that you have in your life. So I told you that I had so much to say about this, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up because it's been a little bit longer than usual for the podcast. But I thank you so much for spending time with me today. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you guys. And again, you are the most amazing audience ever. So I look forward to talking to you next time. And until then, have an absolutely extraordinary day.